Right, afternoon everyone.
Afternoon, Lee.
That was brilliant, that, Carol. Thank you very much for that. Right, so my name's Lee, primary school teacher from Manchester. Work at a school called Davian Primary, which is just around the corner from the Trafford Centre. If you've been to Manchester before, about half an hour away from Old Trafford. Okay, it's fine. No United fans in? Thought we all lived in London. No? Okay, right, okay. Remember that next time I see my city friends. So I've been a teacher for 12 years. For the past few years, I've been working there part-time and then doing this sort of thing part-time. So I always like to think of my training, because I don't like, people sometimes introduce me as like a technology expert. I'm not. I'm just a teacher, first and foremost. So I just want to talk about, teaching at the minute, and because a lot of the training that I do now is very much sort of demonstrating creative use of technology to enhance your curriculum, which is what I did upstairs in the other conference. But what I've also started to notice from doing this training now a fair few years, I'd go into schools and I'd do a training day. They'd book me in for the year after, and I'd end up doing the exact same training day. And I'll say, why do you need me to do the same ideas? Why have you not used them? And I've quickly realised that schools aren't quite getting the environment right that allows teachers to step outside the comfort zone and try something new. So a lot of my training now has sort of transformed into working smarter, not harder, and looking at some ways in which technology can help us do our job a little bit better, more effectively. So, as Carol said, we can use that time more effectively. So I'm just going to sort of talk about that in this session. All my links, social media platforms, website there. I've launched this new website, mrpict.com, where I'm sort of moving all my CPD on there. So if you want to carry on the learning journey off the back of today, you can sign up to that. And I think there's about 300 bite-sized CPD videos to help you make more out of technology in your school. So sort of as a teacher, I recognise sort of everyday teacher problems. Do you ever do things like this? When you're marking a set of children's books and get to the last one and realise they were off ill? Do you do that celebration like you just won it? You do, don't you? Then you catch yourself celebrating the fact one of your children are really poorly. Michael's got tonsillitis. Get in there. Because it means I don't have to spend 10 minutes pointlessly highlighting his book. This is everyone on Monday. When the teacher who's covering your class comments on how badly behaved your class were, and you've got to act surprised like they never do it for you. My class, really? That's so out of character. Who was this at the beginning of the summer when you found out you didn't have to move classrooms so you could actually have a break? And my favourite one is that one which Carol sort of talked about. At the end of training day. Why? So I'm just going to talk about sort of a little bit about sort of well-being for us as teachers, and I know that's been discussed a bit today. Because I love teaching. I think teaching is the best job in the world when you get the environment right in a school. I think the issue at the minute is that too many schools aren't getting the environment right. And I think the biggest reason for that is that over the past few years now, there's been too many people in education who believe that the more you monitor and scrutinise teachers, the more you'll raise standards. And that's my reaction to that, sort of like, really? Like, are you being serious? And that's what it's like. And there's loads of people who believe in that. The reason we're in this rut as educators and teaching's in this rut isn't down to just one person, by the way. There's lots of people, right? Teachers, I think, can be their own worst enemies. Don't get me wrong, the majority of teachers I come across, I absolutely love. They're amazing, right? But there are some that do my head in, right? And I think most schools have these teachers. I like to call them the martyrs, the mood hoovers, the lemon suckers. You know the ones who like to moan about everything, right? We all love a moan. I love a moan, as you're going to see, right? But what's the difference between me and these other teachers is I then try and do something about it. It's these teachers who will moan about everything. I won't do a thing. 2 things I hate about my job, Lee. 2 things, right? Go on then, what are they? Number 1, I hate the way things are. I hate it. I hate the system. I hate the pressure that we're under. I hate this workload. I hate the marking. I hate the planning. I just hate everything. I hate the way things are. Okay, what's the second thing? The second thing, I hate change. I think there's some leadership teams in schools who are just completely getting it wrong. They're not leaders, too many bosses, not enough leaders. Some are amazing, by the way. Some leaders are amazing. Some aren't. You've got LEAs in a lot of places who still think it's 1996 doing the Macarena into school. You've got Ofsted. Wish they'd deep dive into a bin, don't you? To be honest. They nearly had us, didn't they? They were this close to us going like, we've changed. That's what they said at the beginning. We've changed. Yeah, we all had a boyfriend or girlfriend like that. Do you remember? No, I've changed. Yeah, all right. Okay. So here's the thing with Ofsted. I mean, there's a couple of things with Ofsted. My biggest issue with Ofsted isn't directly with Ofsted. My issue with Ofsted now is with schools who decide to play up to it. Because you've got a choice with Ofsted. I guarantee the schools who get the best grades and the labels aren't the ones who are doing mock steads and mock deep dives and all that. They're the ones who are just focusing on the most important thing in that school, which is the children. But ultimately, if you go to the very, very top, I just think the government are clueless of education. I can't think of a single thing this government have brought in where I've gone, actually, I like that. It's either 5 years too late or it's just ridiculous. I think this government are clueless with everything. Can I say it? Yeah, all right. You know what I mean? Not always sure where I go. How's he Prime Minister, by the way? He's the best man for the job. He's not. He's not the best mammal for the job, is he? Because this is what you get for we know there's a recruitment crisis. We know we need to recruit more teachers. There's not a recruitment crisis in education. Do you know there are more qualified teachers in the UK working outside of education than working in it? So it's not a recruitment crisis. There are millions of qualified teachers in this country. The problem is they just don't want to work in this system. So the issue is not with recruitment, the issue is with retention. It's keeping teachers in the profession. Here's a stat for you. £22 million of taxpayers' money has been wasted in the past 2 years on bursary for teachers who have already left the profession. 22 million quid. A third of teachers now leave the profession in the first 3 years. Why? What's the main reason? Workload, yeah? Workload. Because it's funny workload now, isn't it? I mean, it's not, obviously. But the way our profession deals with workload, I find, is laughable because we are clueless as a profession. Maybe not the teachers, but, you know. How long? 5 years we've been banging on about workload? This workload crisis. 5 years, would you say? Where every TS article will go on about workload. Ofsted, I've had the workload reduction toolkit, you know. But put your hands up if you feel your workload's get any better in the past year or so. All fart, no poo. That's how I define how our profession's dealing with workload. It's right, though, isn't it? Oh, we'll talk about it. Hey, guys, we're going to have a staff meeting. Come on, let's all sit round in a circle. Let's talk about how crap our lives are. Go on, Margaret, start us off. I'm not going to do anything. But it ticks a box. Did you get my email last night? No. Sent you an email about 9:30 last night. It's that workload questionnaire I need. Should only take you a couple of hours, but I need it by the end of today. Because here's the issue with workload. Directly linked to workload is this well-being issue that we've got in education. Something that I'm incredibly passionate about. For some reason now I've become this person, whether it's with the social media stuff, where I will get inundated with messages. I've had 2 today from teachers who are struggling massively with their mental health. And it's so tough to sit there and read these messages knowing you can't really do anything about it. But you know it doesn't need to be this way. You can do something about well-being if we actually took action with the workload. But because we're just paying lip service to all the workload stuff, well-being is very quickly turning into this annoying little pointless gesture token type thing, which really winds me up. So, you know, people think well-being is getting a mug of chocolate and putting that mug of chocolate on your desk and leaving a little post-it note saying, you've been mugged. Take a picture of my Instagram, get a few likes there. That's not going to help my well-being when I'm on a diet, for one. And it's not going to help my well-being if I'm stuck in school till 7 o'clock every night, pointlessly marking books. That's not going to... I get the idea behind it. I'm not having a go at anyone who does it. I get it's a token of appreciation. It's a really nice gesture. It's just not well-being. It's not well-being. Basically, these sort of things. What annoyed me the other day is one of the unions are now doing it. So one of the unions that I'm sure some of you will probably pay money for is putting together these teacher well-being packages that consist of deodorant. Because I don't know about you, but that's the one thing that worries me. You know, are you stressed about your pupil progress meeting? No, I just stink. You know, nail file, wet wipes, and tampons. So really useful for me, that one. There was one school who had sent a letter out to parents asking parents to fund a teacher well-being sort of collection because budgets are so tight we can't afford biscuits in the staff room. Embarrassing. We've got to do more. We've got to actually take some... So that's what I want to do today, just have a quick discussion with you about some of the things you might be doing in your school and say, you're doing that? Yeah, why? If the answer is not to benefit your children, go back to school and stop doing it. Because it has that knock-on effect. It's not just time for us, but as Carol said, if we don't give time to our children, We really do fail them. And what annoys me about this approach now is it's ingrained in everything. Teacher recruitment adverts, right? Here's a genuine teacher recruitment advert from a university. See if you can work out what wound me up about this. Right, there's a couple of things. Number one, have you ever walked around school that slowly? Do you know what? You get to the photocopy about half two before you get anything photocopied. Have you ever, in your teaching career, just walked into your classroom and used your interactive whiteboard straight away like that? He's not even orientated, that bad boy, has he? Listen, children, just quiet for a second. No, stop messing, But it's the way, they ask me why I do it, the late nights marking, the endless paperwork. That advert is validating that as part and parcel of your job now. So if you choose to go into teaching, this is what you expect. Don't expect to have a decent work-life balance. Don't expect to have a decent mental well-being. Don't expect to have a decent relationship with family and friends. You sacrifice all of that to do this noble job of teaching. But guess what? You just might make a bit of a difference to someone. Utter rubbish. That's happened because our system over the past few years has been completely driven by fear. So too many schools now don't make decisions out of the best interest of the children. It's all out of fear. Fear of what's going to happen if you don't get results at the end of year tests. So now we don't educate kids in year 6, we prep them for those tests because we need results, children. That's why you're not having an Easter break. You're coming back into school to do extra SATs revision. We're bringing you in an hour early, you're leaving an hour later to do extra SATs revision because we need results in these tests, all right? Why? Listen, I'm not going to get into it, children, but there's something called performance-related pay, all right? And for me to get my 2 weeks in Benidorm in the summer, you need to get underlining those fronted adverbials, all right? But listen, no pressure. Remember that, yoga session we had? Bloody hell. Because if you don't get results, that's it then. Knock, knock, knocks, Ofsted's at your door. But wait, Ofsted have changed. No, they've not. All they do now is they hammer you about your English and maths, turn around and go, who's great at for music? Well, about 5 years ago, we had this djembe drum assembly, right? And honestly, it was brilliant. Sophie was amazing. She's 17 now, but, Here's another one. Leaving archaeology to teach means I can spend more time with my family. Oh. Now, I don't want to make it out like being an archaeologist isn't a stressful job. I just can't imagine many archaeologists being forced to do things like this. Take mounds of earth home every weekend. Sit there while the child, Daddy, can we go to the park today? No, son, we cannot go to the park. I've got to spend my day off digging this up. Because tomorrow, there's going to be another digging scrutiny. And if I don't follow the non-negotiables from the digging policy, I'm going to be put on capabilities. There's only one archaeologist I've ever known. It was this guy. He preferred doing stuff like this than being in the classroom. And to be fair, if you've got a choice between being chased by a massive boulder like that or an angry parent who wants to blame you because a child's lost a new jumper, I know which one I prefer. But here's the thing. If we get the environment right in a school, teaching is by far the best job in the world. And I'll tell you what it is about teaching. It's one of the few jobs you can do in your lifetime, whether you do it for 6 months, 60 years. At the end of it all, when you're lying on your deathbed and you're looking back on your life, you will never regret being a teacher. Because you will have known during that time in your life you'd have done a job that helped other people. And despite our society conditioning us to only feel happiness when we sort of spend money on things, we're a very materialistic society, true fulfillment and happiness comes from helping other people. And you guys do that on a daily basis. You are life's good people. You are so underappreciated, undervalued. But I just want to take a moment just to tell each and every one of you how bloody brilliant you are at what you do. You're absolutely amazing, You're not perfect. And here's the thing, that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. Because here's where teachers are their own worst enemies. Because we are perfectionists. And striving to be perfect is great, go for it. But you've got to stop beating yourself up when it's not perfect. Because I'll tell you into a little secret, it never is. Now, it doesn't help that we work in this system that is completely driven by labels, right? If Ofsted want to help themselves, get rid of labels. It's what causes this idea in teachers that you've got to be invincible. Because it's not, if you're lucky enough to have an inspector who walks into your school and, whatever, had a cracking weekend, so he's coming in, go bounce, love that, love that, love that. You can be outstanding. Go on, you can, and then you're like, what are you like? You're like, oh my God. That guy who's not taught for 10 years has just told us that we're outstanding. Right, £500 of the budget, £500 of the budget is going to go on a massive banner outside our school telling everyone how outstanding we are. Then there's a school down the road from you working just as hard who gets an inspector who's not, not happy, whatever. It just doesn't like what they're doing because they prefer it done a different way. Yours requires improvement. They're now fighting for the jobs. Why do we do it to ourselves? Why do we buy into this system, which we know ultimately is a complete load of shit? It's not real. There's no such thing as an outstanding school. There is no such thing as an outstanding teacher because we are human. And if we took away these labels that create this idea, this mentality that we've got to be invincible and accept, let's just strive for everyday excellence. Can we be our very, very best on that given day? Because we are human. And we're going to have days where we walk away from school and we're like, tell you what, absolutely nailed that today. Absolutely. Do you see what I got? I got that child to stop licking his feet for 5 minutes to finish that worksheet. That's how good I am. Wearing the Blue Peter badge. Then there'll be other days where you're walking away like, oh my God, I need to retire. What was I thinking? Why did I think it would be a good idea to get the glitter out? And there's going to be times in your life when you can't be at the top of your game for whatever reason. Like Carol was saying before, if there's something going on outside of school, you will not be at the top of your game. It's as simple as that. So, stop beating yourself up when it's not perfect because it never will be. Just keep doing it. Because even if you're not at the top of your game, you'll still be having such a profound impact on these young people, And I'm not talking impact as in you're getting them through a test. It might be for that one child in your class, you're the only person in their life that makes them feel valued and worthwhile. And for those 6 hours that they're with you each day, that's the only time in their day they have to feel safe and content. You're that person for someone even though you probably don't realise it. And it's probably the one child in your class that you think hates you the most, that probably needs you the most. Just think about this. There's a child who's woken up this morning, so giddy to spend another day in class with you, thrown on the school uniform, devoured a piece of toast, raced into school, got into school today to realise you're not there because you're swanning it off on a course. Shame. So just stop being so hard on yourselves. But here's the thing about teaching. Teaching is a really, really tough job. It's so tough. But why do we seem hell-bent on making it as hard as possible? Why are there so many schools, despite all these other challenges we're facing, parental engagement, there's funding, that sort of thing, yet we still want to just make it as hard as possible? Why don't we look at ways in which this maybe technology can make it easier? So 2 things that I get really wound up with at the minute that I'll talk about and then hopefully have time to demonstrate a quick idea to make it easier. Right, 2 things that I think we do as teachers that if we were to scrap doing them wouldn't have a negative impact on children's learning but would save us loads of time. We can utilise that time more effectively. Yeah? Number 1, butt scrutinies. Right? Any school doing a butt scrutiny needs to stop it because why? Why is the book the be-all and end-all? Don't get me wrong, it's important. I'm not having a go at the physical act of looking through books. But in 2019, why is it we've got some schools where if it's not in the book, it's not worthwhile? It's all about the holy grail of the book. And what it does with teachers, it creates a very dangerous mindset where teachers think they're being judged solely on what their books look, not what the children know, not what the children have learned, just what the book looks like. And these schools, there was one school who started back in September on the Wednesday. They were doing book scrutinies on the Friday. And one HLTA got in contact with me recently because she's working with this NQT who's really worried about these book scrutinies because they're happening every week, that sort of thing. She's teaching math lessons, this teacher, by question 1, writes it on the board. Who knows the answer to that? Yes, the most able child in my class. Well done, that is the correct answer, yeah. Right, go on then, copy it down, all of you. Hurry up. We're done? Right, question number 2. Goes through the whole lesson like that. Because at the end of the lesson in the books, looks like all the children made loads of progress. And that's all the SLT look at, the books. Well, there's no learning happening there. And this is the thing, with a day like today, my normal training days where we're sharing lots of different ideas through tech, none of it's going to have an impact if everything's about books. You might have seen an app today say, oh, it'd be brilliant for science, that. It'd be brilliant, that would give every child in my class the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. But if you're driven by these book scrutinies where you're deemed a success by how many pages you filled in the book, a little voice will pop in your head. You can't do that. You can't spend an afternoon letting children be creative through technology when there's nothing going to be stuck in a book. No chance. Forget it. And you go, yeah, I suppose so. Because there are a lot of teachers now who don't even have to think. They work on this conveyor belt of show the PowerPoint, do the worksheet, show the PowerPoint, do the worksheet. That's because we don't have time to think for ourselves now. Because we're faffing about with all this other nonsense. We're not actually planning and delivering creative, authentic lessons anymore. It's just generic, what we can find, print and go. And look, there's a time and a place for that sometimes. But I know that teachers are so creative that if you were to be given time, you'd make resources that were 10 times better than what you pay money for. But we don't have that time because we're faffing about with book scrutinies. Or the other one as well, you narrow your curriculum massively, right? So let me just jump in here. Yeah. I'll just jump in the curriculum. Anyone got, come on, year group, someone shout out year group. Year 6, right. Heard year 6, we'll go year 6. Right. Year 6 English. First part of the year 6 English curriculum. All those spoken language objectives, yeah? How many of them can you evidence in a book? And be honest with me, do you give that aspect of the curriculum as much time, value, attention, and worth as you do everything else? Not when you judge by what your books look like. And you've got some schools now who deem this speaking and listening is almost like a poor cousin to reading and writing. And if you're brave enough to do a drama lesson, everyone else, you actually did a hot seating lesson, and there was nothing. God, you're brave. What a renegade you are. Oh, my God, I wish I was as brave as you. You know, it's mad. It's ridiculous. It's madness. I tell you what, there's a reason that's the first part of every year group's English curriculum, because it's the most important part. And if you're not nailing that, you won't get anything else. You can get kids to write for hours every day. You will not get true depth, true quality if a child can't talk you through a piece of writing. We've got issues, like in our school, you won't believe the amount of children who are starting school with severe speech and language difficulties because no one's speaking to them at home because everyone's glued to a device, right? And then we're not even teaching the part of the curriculum that can help them. They come to us and go, hi, what's your name? Oh, you can't verbalise anything or... Never mind, come get on with this worksheet. Make sure it's cursive. Biggest killer of men under the age of 50 in the UK. Suicide. How many men do we lose to suicide a day in the UK at the minute? 12. What do we need men to be doing more of? Yet we're not even teaching the part of the curriculum that can help children develop a skill set that allows them to open up and talk about their feelings. This obsession with the accountability in education for the past few years has been contributing to this wider society issue. Right, what's the other job you do as a teacher that wastes most of your time? Right, should we have a chat about that? Right, after 3, best form of feedback you can give your kids. 1, 2, 3. Right, so why does any school have a marking policy? Why would any school ever have a written marking policy if every teacher on this planet knows that oral verbal feedback is the best form of feedback you can give your kids? I'll tell you this now, I wouldn't wipe my arse with a marking policy. It's not worth the paper it's written on. It's not. Because let's be honest, most of you who have to follow non-negotiables in a policy and write this and that, you know 99% of that is not for the children. Because a lot of the time they can't even read it. What a waste of time that is, you know. Why do schools still have marking policies? I'll tell you why. Because schools don't understand the word consistency. Now let's be honest, consistency is a right buzzword at the minute. I bet most staff meetings, do you play staff meeting bingo? If you don't play staff meeting bingo, this is probably the one takeaway you'll take. Next staff meeting, whoever's giving it, everyone else writes 6 words of phrases, right? And you're just listening, and if they say that phrase, tick it off, tick it off, tick it off. But you can only win if you shout, bingo. Just waiting on consistency. So guys, we need this consistent approach. Oh, that'll do, right? Bingo! But consistency is always coming out. But here's the thing, this is a mistake schools make with the word consistency. They think that means every teacher has to do the exact same thing. So that's why we create policies full of non-negotiables that forces every teacher to mark the exact same way. Because if every teacher marks the exact same way, that means we're getting consistency. Nope. What you get then is you get all these year 6 teachers sat there for hours every night doing all this written marking, because, you know, at year 6 they can read it. Will the year 6 children act upon it, engage with it? That doesn't matter, they can read it. Go down to year 1, you've got these poor year 1 teachers having to do the same amount of written marking as year 6. Probably double what the child has written in the session. Knowing full well, when they give it back to the child the next day, the kid can't even read it. Consistency has to come by the outcome, not the process. I'll say that again. Consistency has to come by the outcome, not the process. Even in your class of year 6 children, you will not be able to give the exact same forms of feedback for every single child because of the different levels of ability, yeah? But if every single child in your class was being supported, challenged, and moved on with your feedback, should it matter how you do it? Because actually, there's lots of different ways to give feedback. It completely depends on the task. It completely depends on the child. But what we've done over the past few years is it's all about the how we mark to look as busy as possible. So we just create loads of faff, don't we? And it doesn't help that we've still got a lot of teachers in this profession who associate time with being effective. So the more time I can spend marking, that means I'm a better marker. It's ridiculous. And I don't mind these teachers, by the way. I'm not having a go at them. That's their choice. If they choose to spend every single day of their summer holiday making their classroom look like Hogwarts, that's their choice. That does not make them a better teacher. But they get treated like that because schools put them on a pedestal. Why are you lot not working as hard as this teacher? And you're going, because I've got other things outside of school that need my time. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm part of this rugby team. I cannot be spending every minute of every day eat, sleep, drink, teaching. That teacher is not a better teacher than me. They might create a bit of faff, but it doesn't make them better. Worse is when they become SLT, by the way. So that faff becomes policy. Policy becomes non-negotiable. You're sat there every night writing all this waffle. What went well? Even better if. 2 stars and a wish. And don't even get me started on the fact you can't just mark with 1 pen anymore. Oh, now you've got to bring a whole stationery set just to mark a bloody book. Because look, listen, staff, if that page doesn't look like a unicorn's defecated a rainbow all over it, it ain't good enough. Honestly. Faff. 6 years ago we introduced this in our school. There was a school down the road who just got outstanding. So you know what it's like if a school down the road just gets outstanding. You've now got to copy everything that they do. You know, even though you might have been helping them with everything, suddenly you've got to copy them. So where SLT go, they come back really giddy because they've seen something new. Listen, guys, right, staff meeting, right? We went to that school. We know exactly why they're outstanding. They don't tick anymore. Ticking is so 2012. If they see something good, they get a pink highlighter. They highlight it pink and they call it tickling pink. So after 3, 1, 2, 3. You're sat in a staff meeting. Some of you were going to do that then, weren't you? You're sat in a staff meeting now, questioning your life choices as you go, tickling pink. If it's not so good, they highlight it green with a green highlighter and they call it green for growth. Honestly, because if there's one thing that gives teachers the fanny flutters, it's alliteration, isn't it? Bloody hell. Seriously, you can hoodwink any teacher. One teacher said to me, we don't call them book scrutinies. We don't call them book scrutiny. I went, what do you call them? We call them book looks. But it's the way every other teacher turned around and went, oh, that rhymes. Get it down. We'll have that as a non-negotiable. So we spent £500 of the budget on highlights for you all. It's already non-negotiable in the policy. Off you go, minions. Now I'm looking at my staff hoping for some sort of Les Miserables revolt, like, I'm going to break into song here and tell them that that's a load of no, because everyone else is like a zombie out the Walking Dead. And I went, just out of interest, have we tried this yet to see if it's any more effective? Because I already waste enough time doing all this written marking. You're telling me now I've got to paint by numbers to mark a book when a quick conversation would be quicker. Don't think it's going to save me time. And in fact, will have a negative impact on the amount of time I'm able to spend planning and delivering quality lessons. It was met with, no, but Ofsted like it, so we're doing it. Now, that was my school's attitude 6 years ago. I'm lucky enough to be in a school that has moved on a lot since then. We do not do anything for Ofsted, because that's what Ofsted tells us to do. We focus on the most important thing, which is the children. Every decision we make is out of the best interest for our children. And if Ofsted come along, we're hoping they're going to see that and, you know, it's job done. Because here's the thing with Ofsted, I can slag them off till the cows come home. But to be fair to them, because here's the thing with Ofsted, never come across a school who said, oh, we had them in the other day. Tell you what a hoot. Oh, cracking couple of days. Come back whenever you want, mate. But to be fair to them, they've had this document on their website for a number of years now. I'd say about 5 years, which is the Ofsted myths. Now, be completely honest with me. Just put your hands up if you've never seen this document before in your life. Look at that. Look at that. Now, I'm not having a go at you there because this is my biggest issue, is it's not filtering down. That's been on the Ofsted website for 5 years, where it basically dispels all these myths and ultimately says you should not be doing anything for Ofsted. Everything you do should be for the children. And as long as when we visit we can see that that's happening, it's happy days. Here's my biggest issue with Ofsted. It's not directly with them anymore. It's indirectly via SLTs, who are still doing everything for Ofsted. You know the ones who start every staff meeting with, guys, remember, we're in the Ofsted window. Oh, do us a favour, jump out, will you? Because here's the worst example of it at the minute with the whole well-being and workload stuff, right? Because Ofsted will come into your school and they are going to ask staff about workload and well-being, which is a bit of a catch-22 situation, isn't it? Because if you get cornered and an inspector goes, talk to me about your workload, what are you going to... can tell the truth. Nightmare, mate. Look at me, I'm 23. I don't know if I'm still married. I don't know what my kids' faces look like anyway, you know. And then what's going to happen? You'll get downgraded. You get downgraded. What's going to happen to your workload? It's going to get worse. Or you can you can lie. We don't even worry about workload, mate. We don't even worry. We're completely chilled, chillaxing all the time, and then nothing changes. But it's these SLTs who are just turning it into these token gestures. Guys, listen. Right, staff meetings like this. Listen, tomorrow I want top, three middle, three bottom of every book. I'm going to do another book scrutiny. Yeah, I know it's the 5th one so far this half term. I know we've only been back a week, but I need to make sure you're triple marking every single subject because Ofsted want to see broad and balanced. So I need you triple marking, highlighting every single subject. What about PE? Even PE. How? Just highlight the forehead as they come out the hall. Pink, green, pink, green. I'm going to do another learning walk this week as well, right? But I'm not going to tell you when it is, and you won't even hear me doing it. I'll take my heels off to do it. That's a true story. But because I'm such a great leader and I really care about your well-being, guess what I've got organised for the next staff meeting? Got a gym instructor coming in. Going to do some yoga. Because I want you all zened, and that's a complete non-negotiable. Are these teachers zen, by the way? In a staff meeting like this now. Janet, are you zened? Probably with pink and green highlighters in around. I'm not zen because once this faff's over, I've got 4 sets of books to triple mark. If anyone ever dared tell me that I had to do yoga for my well-being, I'd slap him. Because here's the thing that we're missing about well-being. It's completely and utterly subjective. What works for me is not going to work for you. Tell you what works great for my well-being. I do a podcast with my brother. Right, it's a HLTA in a school in Salford. We got together just the other night, sat there for an hour with a microphone, just talking funny stuff about everything that happens in school. I laughed my head off for an hour. Love it. We've got a live show in London, by the way, at the end of the month. Be great for your well-being. There's about 10 tickets left if you want to get involved in that. Saturday, 30th of November. Anyway, great for my well-being. I can't turn to you and go, don't you moan to me about your well-being if you're not doing a podcast with your brother. Why are you not doing You might not even have a brother. Your brother might not even be that funny. There are some people on this planet that like to spend their Sundays wearing Lycra, cycling up hills. Joking. But I'd prefer to sit on a couch with a bag of Doritos, binge on Netflix series. That can be just as good for my well-being. The only universal way in which you improve teachers' well-being is to give them time. And the only way we can start giving teachers time is to stop the faff and the nonsense and trust them to do the job that they're very capable of doing. I'll finish there, I think. I think that's a good note to finish. Yeah, cheers. Thank you very, very much for inviting me back. I'll leave my contact details up there for a minute or two. Send us any messages, anything you want there. Thank you very much to Dawn and the team for inviting me back. Really appreciate it. Cheers. Thank you.